Creepypastas. Creepypasta. Creepypastas.
Stabbed 19 times, allegedly by two of her friends, who said they were trying to press a fictional internet character called Slender Man.
Schizophrenia.
Morgan, diagnosed with schizophrenia, has remained in custody since the day of the stabbing.
Backstabbings.
Morgan and I decided that we would make an attempt to fulfill the plan.
To tell the bizarre story of one of the most disturbed little kids the world has ever seen. And this story has left many people to wonder what negative impacts the internet has on our children, and if there's anything that can be done to stop it. Peyton Bella Lautner and Morgan Guy had been friends ever since they were young, inseparable both at school and online. They'd often call each other as soon as they got home from class, and if the phone was unavailable, they chatted over the internet. According to her parents, Morgan was a relatively normal child with an incredibly active imagination. She loved getting lost in fictional worlds, and would reportedly claim to see ghosts in her room ever since she was a toddler. Despite her love of the imaginary, though, in real life, Morgan was a bit of a social outcast, having very few friends outside of Peyton. But things changed around the time the girls entered the 6th grade, when Morgan knew a classmate by the name of Anissa Weir. She was also something of a loner at school, and the two bonded over their love of world building. It was Anissa who introduced Morgan to the world of online creepypasta, and more specifically, the character of Slender Man. Originally created in June of 2009 on the Something Awful forums in a paranormal Photoshop thread, Slender Man was meant to pass as a legitimate photo. Eric Knudsen submitted 2 photos of this creature into the mix. Both images focused on a group of children in the foreground while a tall, thin man loomed in the back. Alongside the submission were captions to add credibility to character. We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them. But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. 1983. Photographer unknown. Presumed dead. The photos memetically spread online, each post adding lore to the character, be it background or abilities. Not even 2 weeks later, a found footage online video series, Marble Hornets, had started on YouTube with their own take on Slender Man. The modern-day urban legend was popular amongst certain circles, but still remained a relatively niche internet meme. It took 3 years for the character to become a breakout hit with the release of the video game Slender: The 8 Pages. With the burgeoning Let's Play genre on YouTube playing horror games, Slender was an overnight success and brought many new eyes onto the character. It was at this point in 2012 when Anissa introduced Morgan to the creepypasta, and she instantly became captivated. Upon being shown the images for the first time, she even allegedly claimed to have seen the faceless ghoul in real life when she was just 5 years of age. This fascination rapidly spiraled into an obsession, as Morgan had Peyton online fanfiction about Slender Man despite the fact that the preteen had repeatedly stated she was too scared to continue. The two girls started getting into arguments, until finally Peyton's mother, Stacy Lautner, intervened. In an attempt to calm her daughter down, she decided to talk with Peyton and read one of the stories together. Afterwards, she asked the traumatized child if anything in the tale could possibly sound legitimate. Peyton responded by saying, "No, but Morgan knows he's real." Eventually, Stacy noticed that Peyton stopped talking about Slender Man and assumed that the two friends had made amends and moved on. But over the next couple years, it seems Morgan's obsession only worsened. It's unclear exactly what happened next, since in retellings after the fact, both Morgan and Anissa blamed each other for coming up with a plan that would soon take place. What is agreed upon is that the socially outcast young girls had become convinced that Slender Man was the king of creepypasta. During their endless hours browsing forums and message boards, they had discovered a post claiming that it was possible to become something called a proxy to the online boogeyman. Once they had proven themselves, their fictional idol would supposedly arrive and take them to live in his mansion located in the nearby Nickel National Forest, alongside every other creepypasta character. There was just one catch. In order to make this happen, Morgan and Anissa believed they had to take a life in order to become worthy, and the victim they had chosen was Peyton. We'll learn more about their brutal plan after a word from our sponsor. It's officially the time of the year we've all been waiting. Sports betting is not available yet, don't forget about DraftKings Daily Fantasy, where they have been innovating even more ways to win some cash this football season. DraftKings has been around for a while, so you know your funds are safe and can be withdrawn whenever, wherever you want. And because of that, I suggest you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. And after using promo code GFM, you'll receive $200 in free bets instantly when placing a $5 wager. Again, that's promo code GFM, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The link will be in the description down below. Needing to please the fictional character they had deluded themselves into believing was real, the two young girls went about setting up their sacrifice. A month before Morgan's 12th birthday, she and Anissa invited Peyton to a sleepover, and it was there that they had planned to act. After a day full of fun and games around town, the girls would wait until their target fell asleep, and then stab her to death. They would then cover their victim in blankets to make it appear as though she was simply dozing. Once morning came, the adults had discovered what happened. The culprits would have long since fled and made their way to Slenderman's mansion. On May 30th, 2014, the night of the get-together, Peyton was so excited to spend time with her best friends she was squealing with joy, according to her mother. Morgan's father picked up and drove them to a nearby roller rink, Peyton never once realizing what her friends had in store for her. But when they arrived back at Morgan's house that night, the plan had apparently changed. They wanted to give Peyton one more day. The delusional preteens settled on committing the act at the nearby David's Park the next morning. They knew the bathroom there had drained for the blood. When dawn hit, Morgan grabbed a kitchen knife and strapped it in her waistband. When she showed Anissa, the young girl suddenly had one thought in her mind. Dear God, this is really happening. As they made their way to the park, Anissa reportedly asked Peyton what would happen if someone came up to you and tried to stab you, innocently claiming she saw posted online and that it was nothing more than a rhetorical question. As they continued walking, once at their destination, they lured Peyton into the bathroom, but Morgan soon lost her nerve and couldn't go through with it, forcing the plan to change once again. Anissa attempted to calm her down and suggested walking through the nearby woods. There they decided on a game of hide and seek. Morgan began to count while Anissa attempted to instruct Peyton where to hide. When their target refused, Anissa pushed her down and laid on top of her. The terrified victim began yelling and attracting attention until she was finally let go. From there, Morgan and Anissa passed the knife back and forth, attempting to decide who would do it, all while their mark looked on in horror and confusion. Everything had happened so fast that the young victim could not even process the events as they were taking place. As a tidal wave of emotions crashed through Payne's mind, it did not even occur to her to run even while watching her friends attempt to stab her to death. Eventually, Morgan took the weapon and told Anissa, "I'm going to until you tell me to." That was when Anissa said, "Now." Morgan tackled Payne to the ground once again and began stabbing her. The terrified child attempted to get away, but Anissa pulled her down, told her to lay still and that she would go get the police. Of course, this was a lie, but in her injured and state, Payton believed it. Once the attack was over, the two killers began their trek north and left their victim to bleed out. As they walked, the weight of their crime finally hit the attackers. Morgan and Anissa both broke down in tears, praying to Slenderman to help them. Thankfully, Payton was strong enough to crawl out of the woods to a nearby road and was seen by a passing cyclist who was able to call the authorities and get her to a hospital. Upon arrival, nurses counted 19 stab wounds covering her body, the two most severe being in her chest and liver. The knife had come within the width of a human hair from piercing her. Her surgery lasted 6 hours, and once she was able to communicate, she asked if the police had found her attackers, and told her mother that she remembered everything that went down. As you can imagine, Morgan and Anissa didn't make it far, and were soon picked up by police later that same day on the north side of town. When questioned, Morgan told them the entire story and motivation behind their plan, adding the detail that if they did not go through with the act, the creepypasta fiend would have killed her entire family. Both girls were very forthcoming with information, explaining how they had been planning the attack for the last 5 months. Morgan calm and almost casual during her interrogation, while Anissa seemed far more concerned about the consequences she was facing. Detectives believed Morgan had no remorse for her actions. Even the young convict herself was aware of this, reportedly expressing confusion as to why she did not feel regret for her crime. Due to the severity and calculated nature of the attack, the two girls were tried as adults and charged with attempted homicide in the first degree for Morgan and second for Anissa. In August of 2017, Anissa pleaded guilty to being party to attempted homicide, but the courts took pity on her on the grounds of mental illness. She was sentenced to be hospitalized for the maximum sentence of 25 years, until the age of 37. After only 4 years though, in September of 2021, she was released under strict stipulations. She is required to live with her father until the end of her sentence, be under 24-hour GPS tracking, have her internet usage monitored, and attend continued regular psychiatric treatment. She wrote in a letter upon her release, "I have exhausted all resources available to me at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. If I am to become a productive member of society, I need to be part of society." Morgan also pleaded guilty to the attack, but she too was ultimately spared from prison due to mental illness, and was diagnosed with schizophrenia. According to her parents, she did not appear surprised by the diagnosis. Not only would it explain much of the young woman's past actions, but her father also suffered from the same disorder. She was given the maximum possible sentence of 40 years in a mental health institution. According to a court-appointed psychologist, Morgan was still having auditory hallucinations and psychotic symptoms shortly before her sentencing in February of 2018. She spoke at length about how she believed to possess Vulcan mind powers from Star Trek, and how she suspected a former classmate of being a Pegasus. During her time institutionalized, it seemed as though Morgan's hallucinations only grew worse, as she saw imaginary friends around her at all times. 2 years after the sentencing, the mentally ill teenager's attorney petitioned for the client to be retired in the juvenile court. He stated that because she wholly believed that Slenderman would kill her family, she was technically acting in self-defense. However, the Wisconsin Supreme Court denied this petition. She was later placed on antipsychotic medicine and appears to be in a better mental state for it. Meanwhile, Anne had a long recovery after surgery, but was able to return to school only a few months later. In an interview with ABC in 2019, Payne opened up about her recovery. She had trouble trusting her friends and even some family members. The attack victim stated she still slept with a broken pair of scissors near her bedside. Through all of this though, she said that she would thank Morgan when asked what she would tell her now. So there you have the story of two delusional creepypastas.
Stabbed 19 times, allegedly by two of her friends who said
Mental illness. Video takedowns. If you're a
New Astapro, steroid-free.
Hey. Sorry, Mr. Game.
New Ast. Find your beat.
video takedowns.
And apparently she's being called out recently related to some apparently fraudulent copyright strikes.
Infringement.
Now, do you see this YouTuber in this video? Or is this stream just pure theft of BBC content?
Anime betrayals.
Why would I care to prove my innocence to a bunch of nobodies on the internet?
But you were definitely not guilty.
Today we'll be looking into the story of one of the most infamous female creators on all of YouTube, who single-handedly caused massive controversy in the community. And the insane part is, all of this was caused by an anime reaction channel. But how could that be? Well, today we'll find out. Suzy Lu is an anime and gaming reaction YouTuber from Scotland. She chose that stage name because of her affection for an anime character, and out of a desire to keep her real identity hidden from the internet. Suzy started a YouTube channel in April of 2013 and began uploading Let's Play content, mainly focused on the Resident Evil series and similar horror titles. Over the years, the account grew steadily in subscribers, as she expanded into the genre of reaction videos for movie and video game trailers. Along the way, she shared a relationship with another YouTuber named Stijo, and for a while their online presence was largely untouched by controversy, except for a brief moment in September of 2017, when she criticized UK McDonald's staff who were striking for higher wages, saying that they should get an actual decent job, stop expecting handouts. The real problems began in March of 2019. Things went downhill when fellow creator Mark After Dark tweeted at Suzy, claiming that she had issued a false DMCA takedown against one of his videos. The upload in question, about PlayStation's The Last Guardian, used a brief clip from Suzy's video discussing the same game, making a joke regarding her emotional reaction to playing the title before Mark began his own commentary. Many in the community were baffled at as to why it was struck down, and Susie's reasoning was stranger than anyone expected. Her response was to say that she quote-unquote owned the copyright to her own face, a statement that has no real legal meaning. She also claimed that Mark had used her name and image to boost the views of his own video, even though neither was specifically mentioned in the title or thumbnail. Unsurprisingly, these arguments were not received well by the public, with much ire being sent in the woman's direction. In response to the hate, Susie posted a video responding to the situation. In it, she claims that YouTube was the party responsible for removing Mark's video and that she had nothing to do with it. However, many to rebuke her statement due to the fact that YouTube's Content ID tool is operated by copyright holders, who in this case would be Susie herself. On top of this, she had already admitted to doing it on Twitter. Unsurprisingly, this response did not quell the discourse, and as a result, Susie Lu's content began getting scrutinized more closely. The main topic of discussion was the fact that the majority of her content was based on reacting to copyrighted content that she does not own. This led to a large hypocrisy angle to the story. Twitch streamer Becky Boo had also previously tweeted a video showing Susie's YouTube channel live streaming the BBC's coverage of the 2016 presidential election, with no additional commentary or footage. Susie had addressed this incident in her initial response video to Mark After Dark, admitting that her usage of the BBC's content did not fall under use, but justified it by saying that the usage was not malicious or done with the intent of growing her channel. Of course, onlookers were quick to point out that the same could be said for Mark's joke. The situation only continued spiraling out of control from there, but commentators found themselves facing peculiar obstacles when trying to talk about it. Creator Tipster posted an interview with YouTube lawyer Ian Corzine discussing the legal nature of Mark's clip. Corzine's conclusion was that the segment was, quote, obviously fair use. But after discussing Susie Lu's use of the copyright system, Tipster's video was mysteriously taken down without warning for violating YouTube's community guidelines under harassment and bullying. Not only that, but around this time, many other channels who posted videos about Susie and her situation found their own content getting removed as well. It seemed that anyone who approached the topic, even when only being mildly critical, was hit with a strike. And there was only one person who spectators of the drama believed could be behind it. Soon enough, Susie herself would confront her critic live on air as the internet watched. We'll learn more about this after a brief word from our sponsor. Getting into the world of colognes can be a daunting task for most men. Going to the store uninformed and just buying something really expensive be a good for you. After much drama in the online space, it was about time that the reaction YouTuber confronted the allegations levied against her head on. This brings us to March 31st, when Susie Lu appeared on RF's After Hours, an internet news show with her boyfriend Steejo to address the situation. The stream's host asked the couple to show their flag history to the audience if they truly wish to prove that they were not the ones responsible for the rampant takedowns. Steejo's history showed nothing, but when it was her turn, Susie seemed reluctant.
I don't care. I want to see your flag history. I mean, this is vital. If you want to prove your innocence, you got to show your flag history.
Why would I care to prove my innocence to a bunch of nobodies on the internet?
Oh, definitely not guilty. You hipster!
While she initially stood her ground, the controversial creator finally relented after enough prodding. And when she revealed her flag history, it became clear why she was so reluctant to do so. It was revealed that she had filed multiple claims of hateful or abusive content against G Reloaded, a YouTuber who had posted several videos about the strikes his fellow creators had been receiving. At this point, there was no denying that Susie was the culprit. Throughout the rest of 2019, Susie Lu continued to plow forward, and criticism against her began to sporadically appear as she chose to simply distance herself from the whole affair. She was even featured in YouTube Rewind 2019, reacting to the previous year's deeply hated celebrity video. During this time, she also began to transition the focus of her content away from gaming and towards anime reacts. These videos contain nearly full-length clips from episodes of various shows, while Susie watched and provided a little in terms of commentary. Simultaneously, Stijo made a similar transition, and both creators found solid success in their new genre choice. The question of copyright came up here once again, because while Susie did apply some transformational edits to the copyrighted footage she reacted to, she still presented a significant amount of anime in its unedited form. Her critics lambasted this change, stating that the majority of the content was just Susie sitting in a room watching anime in the corner of the screen. Others wondered if perhaps this is the kind of actual decent job that she once encouraged McDonald's workers to seek out. Eventually, these reaction videos attracted the attention of the IP holders. On December 27th, the Suzy Lu channel received multiple copyright strikes from Tokyo TV, the owners of Naruto, which had been the subject of the reactor's most popular videos. Per YouTube's policy, the channel was terminated. However, this only lasted less than 48 hours. Suzy returned with a response video in which she claimed that she would be taking legal action against the Japanese-based company, although nothing ever came of this. But beyond the empty threat, the way she described the situation in the video revealed something interesting. Her YouTube partner manager had allegedly been the one to reverse the strikes against the account. This means that YouTube had directly involved themselves in the dispute, restoring the channel regardless of the legitimacy of the strikes against it. This caused many to wonder why Suzy was receiving this apparent special treatment from the platform. Suzy's relationship with YouTube was the main topic of YouTuber John Swan's very popular video about her, uploaded in April of 2020. The call-out attacked the creator's apparent hypocrisy and usage of the Content ID system as a weapon against dissenting voices, detailing every event which drawn the ire towards the anime fan. As you can guess, the original version of this video was removed from YouTube under the harassment and cyberbullying guidelines. YouTube's official Twitter account responded to John, defending the deletion due to personal attacks he had made against Suzy and Stijo in the video. But censoring these insults did not quell the outrage against the anime reactor. One insult, about the size of Suzy's forehead, spread like wildfire and gave birth to memes that very likely would have received community guideline strikes of their own. Criticism in regard to Suzy's alleged hypocrisy only increased when it was discovered that she had been posting uncut versions of her anime reactions to her Patreon, charging the viewers to watch the complete episodes of TV shows that she did not own the copyright to. These uploads were taken down from the paywalled service soon after, leading many to assume she learned her lesson. However, people would soon find out that they were still available on her very own website, which allowed her to not have to deal with Patreon's pesky terms of service. Interestingly enough, Suzy's website was unavailable to visitors from Japan and other parts of Asia, which she claimed was a matter of licensing issues. But the domain is also hosted on Abellohost, an offshore company that helps users avoid copyright issues. Swan's video opened a new wave of investigation, with even more backlash following soon after, when onlookers on Twitter tried to encourage people to simply pay for a subscription to the streaming platform Crunchyroll in order to support the creators of the anime Suzy reacted to. She snapped back by claiming the service was run
wings, beer, and now pizza?
So this week ended up being like a mini E3 week. The amount of presentations and announcements that we had for video games. Of course, we had Tokyo Game Show 2022, in which, I mean, Konami didn't show Metal Gear. They didn't show Silent Hill. We should all just give up on Konami like we did 10 years ago because, I don't know, man. I don't think it's ever happening at this point. Sony had a State of Play presentation that was actually pretty cool. We got a look at Tekken 8. We got a more in-depth look at God of War Ragnarok, which I think could easily be one of the Game of the Year contenders. It just looks absolutely awesome, and I love the new gameplay additions and the different areas you visit. I thought that trailer was really spectacular. Then, of course, you have the Nintendo Direct presentation, which, you know, some people got genuinely mad at me. Oh, you're being negative for clicks. You're being negative for likes. And it's like, no, I don't care about any of that. If I cared about any of that, I would be negative about every major thing, like a lot of these YouTube channels are. I just genuinely was not interested in a lot of the stuff that they showed at that Nintendo Direct. Like a bunch of JRPGs, that's cool, but a lot of these JRPGs is kind of blend
You've got to pick between these two lovely people who happen to be married. You think I'm lovely?
When I close my eyes, I can don't see it. Stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. Can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. you.